second, everybody. I was reading a moderation message. I there's something wrong with YouTube. Everything is flipped, and I don't know what it's going. I don't even know if it's displaying this the right side up, but the chat uh, is flipped on its side. We'll see if this works. I don't know why YouTube's doing that. It happened when I was taking the thumbnail just now. It also uh, was flipped, and so we'll see if it's got this vertical. Yeah, let me know in the chat because we can always flip this vertical. I'm interested to see if your comments are coming out vertically because that's gonna cause chaos for me. Then we will have to flip it. Anyway, everybody, welcome to the first Brain Tech Support Live of 2023. Oh no, it is. It is vertical. And I can see your comments are all vertical. I don't know why YouTube has decided to be vertical. Bear with me a moment. I will flip my tripod and make this also vertical. I guess I don't know, YouTube must be in its competition with Instagram, I guess. They decided that horizontal is finished. I guess that's how we're starting out the new year. Oh, there we go. I lost everybody's comments. Well, this is going to be interesting. We'll see if this one stays online after. Hello, everybody. Yeah, welcome. It is vertical, eh? I have no idea why. Anybody that's showing up right now, if you're wondering why the camera is vertical, YouTube decided to do that for whatever reason. Isabel 360, you're here and you don't know why. Welcome. Everybody, Happy New Year. We were just talking about something over on the Mental Fitness Discord server yesterday, and this morning I think is a great way to start off the year, is to think about making things easy. And I know, I hope you all have an easy year, a year that's full of curiosity and kindness and ease. The question came up about, well, like, how do we make things easy? And it really helped me to recognize that my brain loves to make things hard and difficult. And so usually the first idea it'll have, or the first 20 ideas it'll have about some topic are probably going to be the hardest way to do something. And so with whatever came up in my brain, and this continues to be something I find really valuable, but especially when we're struggling with mental illness too, we're doing a lot of hard work. The brain's, coming up with all these hard tasks. You've got to solve this. You should do this. You should look calm. You shouldn't have that feeling. That's all hard work. That's not easy. And so letting things be easy is about recognizing we don't have to do all of this stuff that we feel this pressure to do. We don't have to do all of this fixing and all of this controlling. And so it starts with just asking, with any idea that comes up, any moment you're like, oh, I've got to fix this thing, I've got to control this thing, I've got to go get this thing. How do I make that easy? How do I make today easy? And as you explore a question like that, you'll often find things you're going to drop. You'll find opportunities to ask people for help. You'll find that maybe the things you were chasing were just creating a lot of stress and you don't need to chase them anymore. It makes us look at beliefs. It makes us look at the goals we're pursuing and really how we're spending our time and energy. So yeah, I'd say, this is something I know I'm going to do this year. And definitely, if you'd like to explore it, anytime you're about to do something, for any day, for any event, any situation, any goal you're pursuing, to just ask yourself, how do I make this easy? And especially with whatever goals you're pursuing up in your head. Because if you want to fix thoughts and feelings, oh, that is very hard, very difficult. Thank you, everybody, for all the Happy New Year wishes. I wish you all a Happy New Year. Yeah, God, pointing out there, you should look calm, the story of my life. Erica, Happy New Year to you too. Oh, and yeah, you asked the question, how do you make it easy to write a novel? So the the camera tripod is sitting on the printout of the novel right now. So I'm still going through editing it and like adding. There's still lots of things to write, and it's it's really useful to look at. So especially with something like a novel, like how do you make it easy? So for instance, I'll come up with a lot of ideas while I'm writing and be like, oh, well, it could be like this, or maybe I should wait to figure that out, or what about this? And then saying, no, like I picked a direction. That's a neat idea, but we're going to write the novel around this idea and finish it. And that could be an amazing idea for the next book. Because actually, I'd like to, ideally, this is the first book in a quadrilogy. And so learning how to sit like, hey, like letting it be easy is like, hey, we're gonna finish a thing. Like this is enough. Other ways I make it easy. Yeah, taking time to like learn about the characters, not rereading and like judging my work and getting caught up in lots of that. Like I write it and then we move on to the next piece. And then only when it's time to make it all fit together and make sure it all fits together, then I go back over it. But also, yeah, like not getting stuck on getting something right. Yeah, I'm going to trust myself. So I'm going to write some sentences, and yeah, maybe they don't feel quite right at that moment, but I'm not going to sit there and like try to like put all that pressure on myself to get them right in a particular way. Because I know, yeah, if I read the same sentence tomorrow after I've had some like chilaquiles and I'm sitting on the deck, I might love that sentence. So I know my brain's judgment machinery will definitely make things hard. I think, oh, thank you for reading the book and watching the videos. Is that some days ago you posted a pic on Instagram about constant internet phone use on the toilet and that it's a trap. Can you elaborate on that? Yeah, just I throw it out there as a challenge. Can you sit on the toilet without your phone? Great way to work on mental health skills, but also recognizing it's those kinds of practices. Like we'll complain about, the brain throwing up lots of intrusive thoughts or not being able to focus, all of that kind of stuff. But then if multiple times during the day we practice, like needing to distract ourselves, needing to constantly be checking our phones, yeah, it's not a problem with the brain that it struggles with distraction and constantly throwing up stuff for you to engage with. It's just trying to help you. It's just trying to help you do the same thing you do when you sit down and flip through your phone. So starting to recognize that we often think of that as like, oh, it's like helping me, like, oh, I'd be bored, or I'd be just stuck with my thoughts, or an uncomfortable feeling if I wasn't flipping through my phone. But actually, it's the source of those feelings. That practice to always be doing compulsions, always to not be present, that's what teaches the brain to always be throwing up stuff for us to fix and control and always not be present. Yeah, taking a shit, great thing to be mindful with. Moral. He said, what's the best approach to the voice that tells me every action I'm doing is the wrong thing or I don't deserve this? Do you just always ignore and proceed, talk back to it? Yeah, so I'm not only a fan of proceeding, but also doing more wrong things or more things the brain says you don't deserve. So this is, you may have heard me talk about stealing happiness before. And there is a video in my YouTube channel. If you look up like deserving happiness, it's about like, well, what if we're always telling ourselves, I don't deserve happiness, or I don't deserve whatever. And we've got to start stealing it. So steal happiness. Give yourself something this week that you don't feel you deserve. And often that is, about like letting things be easy, like we were talking about at the beginning. So yeah, really, yeah, and it'll feel like you're committing a crime. So this, like when I was working on this, it really, yeah, it really felt wrong. It felt wrong to do things that were healthy for me. It felt wrong to do things that were kind to me. It felt wrong to do things that recognize my value. And yeah, it'll feel like you're committing a crime. And it's starting to recognize that, yeah, that feeling, that voice in the head, it's just wrong. And so we've got to steal that stuff. Jeff Jackson, you said, how can I stop mental checking compulsions if most of the time it seems automatic or involuntary? For example, constantly checking to see if I'm feeling anxious throughout the day. It'll always feel automatic at first. It's become a reflex because we practice for so many years, but there's a couple things to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be automatic. You can learn how to stop it. So part of that, picking up skills like meditation, mindfulness, that's about the focused practice of not doing mental compulsions. So those can be great skills to learn. The other thing I'd look at there are your goals, because the brain is just trying to help us, and it's going to automatically help us pursue a goal. So if we have a goal of not getting anxious, or not having a panic attack or something like that, the brain is automatically going to check for it. The brain is just a guard dog. So if you're like, my goal is that nobody will come on our property, then the brain is going to bark and constantly be looking for things coming on your property. So if you're like, anxiety is a bad feeling that's not allowed here, I want to get rid of it, then it's constantly going to be checking for that. So really, really important to look at your goals, because your brain is going to follow your goals. If you have a goal that you shouldn't have a feeling and you don't want that feeling, then the brain is constantly going to check for it. Lucia, I, you see, I find it difficult when a friend, for example, does something that makes me feel sad or angry. I decide not to tell them because that is judging my feelings and attaching meaning to them. So see, I would look at something. What really helped me was looking at how do I articulate my needs up front. Because I also don't want to, yeah, get in like constantly having somebody, can't think of the word, like bypass my boundaries, or do things I don't like. But also, I can't expect them to know that if I haven't told them. So I can't get upset about people not acting a way that I haven't told them I would like them to act in our relationships and our interactions. So no, I think it is so important to see, when we run into a situation like that, oh, there is something I want to share. Like how do I bring that into my next interaction? Because yeah, I can't fix the thing that just happened. Like if something just happened that was mean and I'm hurt, well, I'm hurt. But I see in that there's something I want to articulate in the next interaction in. And so that's where I like to shift it, focusing on proactively articulating my needs before there's a problem. So yeah, because often, yeah, people are happy to support us, but they don't know how to support us if we don't tell them. And Erica has a special public service announcement for everybody as we enter 2023. Erica would like to remind everybody to please eat more fiber. Thank you, Erica. It's really important. Vegetables are delicious. I noticed this morning. So I made, because it was like New Year's Day, so I went to the grocery store, and I'm in Mexico right now, and grocery stores in Mexico are so amazing. You just a grocery store like compared to Canada, the grocery store just has so many fresh ingredients and so many varieties. It's just a wonder. So I went to the grocery store. There were so many different options to get all the ingredients for chilaquiles. I love chilaquiles. Amazing, amazing breakfast food. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make some chilaquiles to start my new year, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making breakfast this morning. But I did notice I was a little low on vegetables in my chilaquiles. There were the raw onions on top, and so I added extra raw onion. So I was like, oh, this could use some vegetables in it, but it was delicious. And I had the refried beans, and like beans are a vegetable. There was also corn tortillas, and corn is a vegetable. So yeah, maybe there was some fiber. Nicole, yeah, you mentioned on the novel, you said it sounds like you're choosing to enjoy the process of writing a novel rather than product itself. Exactly. That is how we make it easy. Like, hey, like I'm doing a thing and I'm gonna do a thing, and then we go to it. Joe, you're reading my book. Thank you. Michelle, I'm doing well. Yeah, thank you. Isabel, you said, my brain makes it easy into a problem solving, a way for it to be easy. I have a lot of things it needs to fix right now. That's just it. What if you didn't have to fix them? So yeah, how do we decide what feelings are good communicating and not just speaking about the anxiety or sadness all the time? Yep. And so see, the thing I always ask people there is like, what do you want to grow? So it's the example I often use here is thinking about drowning and swimming. So yeah, you could spend all of your time complaining about drowning, saying like drowning makes me feel terrible. I had a really bad experience almost drowning. Like all true and all okay to touch, but are you looking for somebody to help you learn how to swim? Are you looking for somebody to take you to swimming classes? Are you looking for ways to access them? Like really thinking about, okay, like this hurts. What's the thing I want to grow? Like what's the good thing that I want to create? So because recognizing it's okay for things to go well. It helped me to see that I'd become very hooked on things going badly. I only knew how to be happy or how to get something I wanted if there was something I hated. And so I always thought like, oh, there kind of needs to be that thing I hate, and then we're going to talk about, we're going to fix it. But it's okay to just grow the things we want to see in the world. It's okay to tell people like what we want to build in a relationship. Kanye, she said, I have no problems with my OCD anxiety 85% of the time. I live a normal life. Oh no. However, sometimes the 15% I do get involved with the thoughts and emotions, even though I know it's stupid. How do I work on that last 15% and accept those thoughts and feelings in any situation? So kind of what I was just talking about there, I'd actually look at what do you want to be doing? So not having to go, oh, I've got to go clean away the last 15% of contamination. But like what's that getting in the way of what do you actually want to be doing? And so what's the thing you're going to grow? Because it's very difficult to clean away and scrub away these things. One, because it just gets us into more of the usual contamination compulsions, right? Going for 100% clean. And instead look at, okay, what do I want to build? What's something I want to keep? Yeah, maybe you won't get rid of the other 15%. Maybe you only get it down to 3.5%. Who knows? But if you have that thing you want to keep, you can just celebrate that. You can be like, yeah, who cares about that other stuff? Because I've got all of the things that I want to grow and cultivate in my life. Miles said, when I notice I'm ruminating, I've been choosing to refocus on some task I want to build in life. But now I got the idea that I'm getting dependent on distraction. Probably OCD trying to drag me back. Yeah, life is never a distraction. OCD is the distraction. Mental illness is the distraction. So it's never going to be a distraction to say, I'm going to go live my life. That's not distracting. Actually spending time on the thoughts and be like, oh, this is contamination. We've got to fix it. That's the distraction. No tomorrow. No tomorrow. Like welcome to tomorrow. You said Happy New Year, but with the same brain. Absolutely. Oh, you said I was hoping to get a brand new one with all the quality checks passed. Too bad. Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year. There's still like a lot of supply chain issues, and so it's probably been affecting the new brain supply. Rocky Fighter, you said how to make recovery easy. I mean feeling easy or action through easy. No, I would just say like easy. So yeah, like one great way to make recovery easy is to be recovered now. Since we're starting out the new year, let's all be recovered. So congratulations, everybody. Especially you've been working hard on recovery. You are now done. You are recovered. And then from here, you can work on building things you want to build and have in your life. And it can just be about that rather than like, oh, I've got to 100% clean away some bad problem. King Khan, he said, sharp emotional pain from rejection, how to respond. Yeah, with kindness. When we get hurt, it's just like if we had a physical injury, like imagine, yeah, there was an accident. You tripped and you fell and your knees are scraped up and bloody and it hurts. And you can say, like, how do I respond to that? Well, like, yeah, there's not like a thing, like you can't like, I mean, you could go and yell at the ground and be angry at it, but it's not gonna change anything. You hurt, and it's understandable you're upset. It's understandable you wanna do something about it, or, maybe if you're worried, that somebody saw you or you're embarrassed about falling, in the grocery store parking lot and getting scraped up. But yeah, you don't have to fix any of that. It's an opportunity to be kind to yourself. I mean, it hurts. And so looking at, yeah, how can you care for yourself? Yeah, you might, rest your leg later that day and make that okay. Be like, yeah, my leg hurts, and yeah, it'll heal, but I don't have to fix it. I don't have to respond in any kind of special way to it. I have a human body, and it hurts sometimes. Isabel, yes, you asked how to spell chilaquiles. It's exactly how you spelled it, except that first E is an A. So only one A and then one E at the end, like you got there. Lilia said, any tips on how to not feel that anger and hate when someone triggers your OCD, even when we know it's not on purpose? Oh, well, so I have opinions about this though, because I would say a trigger is like us doing compulsions. Um, and so I would see it more as an opportunity to say, oh, like again, thinking about like how do I make it easy? Like, oh, like why am I judging that? Why do I want to do compulsions around that? What do I want to do differently here? Because the brain is just doing more of the compulsions there. You can see going, oh, this person did a bad thing. We've got to fix and control that. Like what they're doing is a new kind of contamination we've got to fix and control. So yeah, I would take a step back from that, and look instead at, oh, like actually, like somebody else can't like trigger OCD, but they were doing a thing, and I know I have this urge right now to do a bunch of compulsions around what they do, or like fix. I don't want to have these feelings I'm having because I'm judging what they're doing, and it reminds me of this experience I had before. What's happening in my body is very natural, but I don't want it to happen. And so starting to look at like how can we interact with that differently. So Rab, I see you asking a couple times there the question of how to get over schizophrenia. Uh, so one of the things you could look at is, you're not going to get like a wellness plan, a therapy plan in the comments on a YouTube video. It could be really helpful to work with somebody. It can be really helpful to connect with groups. For instance, there's lots of groups. There's a network of groups around the world. I think they call themselves the Hearing Voices Network right now. But I think if you type into Google Hearing Voices Network, because I think they might have a different name, you'll find them. And groups all over the world of people, yeah, experiencing schizophrenia, that collaborate together to learn how to handle those experiences, like we talk about all the time. Have the experiences, not get wrapped up in a bunch of compulsions around them, and instead focus their time and energy on things they want to be doing in life and supports that will actually help them. So yeah, a ton of great resources out there, but I'm not going to be able to give you a personal plan in you know today's video. Marianne, Happy New Year to you too in Liverpool. Michelle said, I have a problem and I refuse Googling it. I've noticed that going through my recovery, I have these weird feelings of things being too real or foggy, and I don't recognize myself in the mirror. I look at myself and don't look like myself somehow. It's weird. Do you have any tips in overcoming my fear of this? Thank you. Yeah, so this is something I dealt with. It happened around like photos too. I would have to check all the time. And so there is a video where I explain more about cutting out the compulsions around this. And so it's the video I have on overcoming depersonalization and derealization. And so, yeah, it might be useful to check that out. But yeah, starting to see it's a bunch of checking compulsions, just like anything else. Judging, like looking for, like, and especially with the things feel too real or things feel foggy, seeing those as the same, right? Us just judging how things feel, and then of course going, oh, like this is wrong, and we can go wrong in any direction. Oh, like I should feel clearer right now, or oh, this feels too clear. This doesn't feel right. That judgment machinery is always going to fuel lots of derealization and depersonalization. Same with even just seeing ourselves. Like if we are looking at a reflection or looking at photos, we're just doing a lot of judging there. And so it's the same thing that happens with body dysmorphic disorder. The more we judge, the more disconnected we get from the way things actually are, and then it just keeps going and going. And so we've got to cut out all of that checking and judging. Isabel said, my doctor says my blood pressure has gone up. I don't know how to approach that from a not fixing point of view. They think more meds. I don't want that. Yeah, blood pressure is one that comes up often, right? Because it's also this, it's like this thing. And then, the doctor might be like, oh, we've got to check it, or we've got to check it frequently. And then, of course, more checking around blood pressure is probably going to keep our blood pressure up, or maybe it won't be. And then we'll be wondering, like, I feel so stressed. Why is my blood pressure down? And it is this like weird thing inside of us that can easily get us into lots of checking and controlling. And so the thing I always look at there, again, thinking about letting it be easy, is just picking something. Because yeah, you can think about it forever, but do you want to think about it forever? And yeah, what if you just tried something, and then you saw how it went? Jimmy said, I had a hair in my eyes 2 days ago. I don't know if I actually got it out of my eye. My brain is screaming at me to keep checking my eyes. I'm finding it very hard to move on and live my life. Yeah, so what I found useful with stuff like that, Jimmy, was just like wanting it to be in there. Like when everybody's like, oh, you gotta check, and being like, oh no, I'm not gonna check. It's probably the hair is like probably so far behind my eyeball now, and it's gonna like go in my brain like a little worm, and like wanting it and be like, yeah, so I'm not gonna check, brain. And like, yeah, just practicing that. And so like really making the brain squirm. Because if we engage with the fear, we're just teaching the brain to just give us more similar things in the future. Yeah, bagel, bagel, bagel. Up a great a message here to Sarab said, I've experienced psychosis and will live a life nourishing myself with sleep, nutrition, social sports, meditation, while understanding that I have a brain that goes many ways. Exactly. Yeah, we have brains. Brains do things. Moral said, I sometimes wonder if a level of denial can help. Telling yourself, I don't have OCD, and living like someone without it. Trying to clear OCD itself is half my problem. Be whole now. Indeed. Yeah. Well, I think this is the thing. Like like even the idea of like I have OCD or something like that. Or I saw somebody made a reference to my book the other day, and I appreciate that they were sharing about my book. But they told this person like, "Oh, uh, read this book. This guy has OCD." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I do not. Like, there's no like it wouldn't. I wouldn't even like it would not cross my mind. There's absolutely." Any of the mental illness diagnoses I had, look, no, I don't have them. Like they are not things to have. So yeah, it can be really useful if it's something that you would find useful to drop the diagnoses. But lots of people find the diagnoses useful as well. But yeah, there's like not anything in my body that I have. In fact, my entire life fits in 2 bags now, so there's not a lot of space to stick a diagnosis in one of them. Nicole, yes, I'm excited to stop cleaning away bad feelings or life experiences. Yes, more join the nothing to fix crew. And bagel, 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 continuing on psychosis here. So for me, psychosis is not something I see to overcome, but actually an opportunity to connect. I can be compassionate towards those experiences in myself and others, but especially compassionate to myself. Exactly. I mean, really, these experiences we have, they're human experiences. We can have them in all of the different ways that we experience them. If we see them as these like really bad things we've got to clean away, then that can create a lot of more cleaning and more cleaning and more cleaning and never enough cleaning. And then, yeah, like I would have to carry around all sorts of cleaning equipment in my bags. Lucas, Happy New Year. Said, when did you get your sleeve tattoo? Any meaning behind it? Yeah, I got this tattoo. Um, I've had it for several years now. But yeah, absolutely. It is a visual metaphor for many of the concepts we talk about. Yeah. I know. So I get tattoos attached. So yeah, I would have had to have gotten this because I get a tattoo attached to when I make a book. So I know the tattoo already that I'm gonna get when we finish this novel. And so then I had to have gotten this in like 2017 when the mind workout You Are Not a Rock was finished. Yeah. But yeah, it's encapsulates yeah, many of the concepts we talk about, and so will the next one. Sarabjot, it's a very happy New Year to you as well. Is it normal for the mind to create new tendencies for new situations? Also, sometimes things that I used to do effortlessly have now become a task due to new tendencies. Yeah, can you explain what you mean by new tendencies? Parcel, I'm sorry you've been missing the alpaca analogies. Okay. He said, a lot of resistance comes up for me lately when I try to do tasks. It's like a whole body no for simple things like unloading the dishwasher, but also for new things. How to work with this? Yeah, like part of it can be kindness. I often describe it. It felt like there were force fields around things. Where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, but I cannot. It is not possible. And so, yeah, some of it's kindness. Some of it helped me to really play with the brain. Like I recognized I had to not anticipate a lot of things because if I was like, oh, we're gonna like if I started thinking about like, oh, I've got to do that thing, we're gonna do that thing later, I've got to do that thing. It was like that would make it more and more difficult. So I'd either write things on notes or I would put things in my calendar or I would just notice the thought pop into my head and go, oh yeah, like the dishwasher, and then just do it. Because the brain's looking for us to go, oh yeah, the dishwasher. Do you feel ready to do it? Do you feel good enough to do it? Is now the right time? Like, oh, if you touch the dishwasher, is that going to affect the thing you're going to do after? And the brain really wants to, have that discussion. And so learning how to just set as a value. If I think of a thing I need to do and it's a thing I've been procrastinating on, when I think of it, I have to do it right then before my brain can start the conversation and debate it. But yeah, you kind of got to see like what would help you slip through the force field. No tomorrow said, do you have any creative advice about mental health? Do you know of any books, movies, manga, anime that you would recommend reading or watching? Also, do you know when you plan to finish your book? So the current book is a novel. It is about like fear. Our main character here, I'm touching it as though you can see it. It becomes like an object. Also because I have very few objects, so I have this like big manuscript that I'm carrying around with me. And our main character, she's a space janitor, obviously, and she's afraid of everything. And she lives in space, full of scary things. And so it is very much about fear. Uh, in terms of other kind of like creative, I've always like a lot of anime is great. There's lots of examples that are really smart in anime about mental health, but often across the board. I still think one of the best ones I've ever seen. I would say there's a lot in across the genre, but one example that I always come up is there are some good ones in Bleach that are very particular to the approach we often talk about. And so Bleach, for anybody who's not familiar, there's a guy and he ends up with a sword and he has to go to kind of like the afterlife where all the Shinigami, the death gods, hang out, and he has to rescue kind of his friend who's been is going to be executed because she kind of no, she purposely did it, but like kind of had to, or was it accidental? I can't remember now. Gave him some of her powers. So he's a human and so on. But when he goes there to start to like battle his way to rescue his friend, he has a battle really early on when he arrives. So one of the first fights he has, sword fights. And the guy, this is for anybody who knows, this is when he's fighting Renji, Aburai Renji, at the kind of before he even gets into the city. And Renji points out that he's only fighting to avoid getting hurt. And so that he'll never be able to win the fight because he's so afraid of getting hurt. And I find that this is often how we approach like recovery at first, how we often get into struggles with mental health, because we're just like, oh, I want to do this thing and not get hurt. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to have difficult feelings. But as long as we're on that, oh, I can't get hurt. I can't get hurt. I can't have bad feelings. I can't have bad feelings. It really traps us. If we're like, well, I want to fix the problem, but I don't want to have anxiety. I want to fix the problem, but I don't want to risk a panic attack. Then it'll always trap us. We've got to be willing to have a panic attack. We've got to be willing to have that breakdown. Got to be willing to have all the intrusive thoughts. And it might hurt, but we'll get to move towards the places we want to go. Maybe is that what you were thinking of, no tomorrow? Dakarai, Happy New Year. What would I say is the first step to recovery? Being recovered now. And now that you're recovered, you can just focus on building mental health skills and growing things you want to have in your life. Pom Pom Kitty, Happy New Year. Miles said, yeah, mental illness is a distraction. Totally. Enjoy that. Enjoy building what you actually want to build in life. Joe Panzer, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's very, thank you so much for a donation. Yeah, to start out the new year. I appreciate the support. You asked a question with this. Said, could you expand on techniques you'd recommend for moments where you get stuck on an obsession or you feel very irrational? When you almost get into a depersonalized state? In a podcast you featured in, you spoke about having set instructions for you to follow. Yep. That's what I was going to suggest. Like, I will wash my hands once, I will check the tap once, etc. Is this something I could try? Exactly. Yeah, I find it's really helpful that we don't have to. What I found really important for myself was saying, look, I know I can't think of a good plan when, yeah, I'm having a panic attack or like I'm really under this pressure to do a compulsion. So I need to have decided what I'm gonna do in advance and then do that. And so wanting it, like when you said that when you almost get into a depersonalized state, get into a depersonalized state, be super depersonalized, be not yourself, not present, and do that thing that you identified before, that thing you know you want to do. And that really recognizing like all of that stuff can be there and making that okay because there's this thing you're going to do anyway. And so figuring out what that is, it doesn't have to be super hard. Like for me, one of them often was like saying, I'll go for a walk. And then I'd be like, oh, well, if I go for a walk, I'm not doing work or I'm not doing something productive. No, like a walk is a really enjoyable thing. I'm a human. We like walks. and I'm not going to be productive anyway if I'm just sitting at home doing a bunch of compulsions or like trying to like argue with compulsions. So yeah, it's okay for it not to be this like really hard thing. It's saying, yeah, look, and so another way I often describe this to people is if you've ever trained a dog, uh, if the dog is already like really riled up and it's barking and it's on attack mode or run mode or whatever, that's not the moment to try to teach it something. You're gonna take it away so it can calm down a bit. Then you're gonna try to again introduce it to the situation, but trying to show it a different way to interact with that, where it's not going to be so reactive. And doing the same with our brain. Once you've seen the brain's into reactive mode, don't like that's not the moment to be like, okay, what's the right mental health thing? What's the perfect mental health tool? No, screw it. Like take the brain puppy out of the situation, then bring it back in and see how you can keep its attention on something more useful. So yeah, I would definitely try it out. See how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions about that as you explore it. Hayal, Happy New Year to you too. Thanks for stopping by. Elizabeth said, so I'm trying to just let the thoughts go on by themselves without judgment, but it feels like my brain only can produce nonsense thoughts. Oh, yeah, that is totally true. No, Elizabeth, did you have a question about that? Because, yeah, I would. Oh, brains. I expect brains to be useless nonsense thoughts 24/7. Sally said, things have been quite well for me, but lately, from like a week maybe, I've been getting these thoughts, like getting obsessed with a random thought, and then I keep overthinking. It's very random. Like, for example, it'd go like, I have to be 100% about my Christmas wish list. I can't sit still until I've got it all figured out. Just perfectionism. It's really been getting in my head. What do I do when these perfectionism thoughts arise? Because at the moment, it really feels like my head is spinning. Yeah, and so it's, that the brain is going to go for this. I call it the brain pushing us around. And then it just really helps to get things wrong. And so starting, noticing the brain go, like, you gotta get your Christmas wish list right. And then saying, no, I hope it's wrong. I hope there's actually stuff on there that I would hate. And I wrote down the wrong thing, or it's not clear enough. And people are going to give me all sorts of terrible things. You know what, brain? I'm not going to check it. I'm gonna go for a walk. So starting to do things like that is what really helped me, like really making my brain squirm. So it's like the brain is this colleague at work that is always constantly trying to micromanage us, and we've just had it. So whenever they check on something, we just tell them the opposite. They're like, hey, did you get the numbers right on that report? And you're like, nah, I got them all wrong. Here you go. And hand it over. So get things wrong. Nelnai said, I'm back in therapy after 3 years. Before going, I was so scared and anxious, thinking I'm at my worst again. Oh, well, I hope you find the experience at therapy really useful for learning some new skills. Kareem, you said, why do we need to work on changing our beliefs if the brain doesn't care about the topic? Yeah, because you care about the topic. Fabio, Happy New Year to you too. Said, is there any OCD theme related to comparison, like comparing my life with others and feeling behind? Well, yeah, it can really help to see it's not about an OCD theme. Like that's just a standard OCD compulsion across the board, right? Like even somebody who struggles with hand washing compulsions, like contamination OCD, they're comparing how I feel right now contaminated to this like idea of clean. Relationship OCD, they're comparing, oh no, this feeling doesn't feel right compared to the feeling I think I should have. Depersonalization, I don't feel real compared to how I believe I should feel real. So it's more fundamental than that. Like that comparing, that judging machinery is across the board. It would be anywhere. And so yeah, often we put that on ourselves where we're judging our lives as like contaminated, not good enough, wrong compared to somebody else's. And then we're like, oh, I gotta like clean my life. But of course, we'll just always judge it as not enough. So it really helps to celebrate our lives. It's so much easier. So thinking about ease again, our topic for the start of the year, it's so much easier to be successful if you see yourself as successful now, rather than seeing yourself as like, oh, I suck, I'm not in a good place, I've got to fix it, and then trying to chase some ideal of success. Because then you're in this position of lacking, you're not going to have the resources to spend, to invest. And by that I mean like emotional, cognitive resources. It really helps to see yourself as successful now. And then you get to spend that success rather than seeing yourself as like, oh, if I see myself as not good enough, I'm going to chase something. It does not work that way. Kareem, you said, you usually say that you don't struggle with thoughts and feelings anymore. Is there a difference between struggling with thoughts and having thoughts? Hmm. Sure. Because struggling with thoughts is like a thought pops up and then we like wrestle it. We like put on our wrestling leotard and we like try to body slam it. And so that takes a lot of energy. At the same time, I'd say the key thing is when you stop trying to wrestle and struggle with thoughts all the time, the brain will stop throwing them up. So I would say it's both. Like, because yeah, I don't struggle with thoughts anymore. Also, my brain doesn't throw up all those intrusive thoughts anymore. But if it did, that would be okay. And it could do that. And I still wouldn't wrestle them. Nicole, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. And is that a lemon like dancing? I love that. I love lemons. Thank you so much. I appreciate the donation. And Maxwell as well too. Thank you so much, Maxwell. Oh, happy New Year to you. I'm glad you're enjoying the live. Thank you for coming by today. Yeah, thank you everybody for the support doing this. It's a pleasure to get to hang out with you at the start of the year. So we can kind of say, hey, there's been a lot going on. There's still going to be a lot going on in the year ahead. There's so much that happened this year. I think lots of people could not have anticipated, predicted, or expected. It's going to be the same way as we take steps forward. So it's great we get to be here as a community and say, okay, yeah, we're all in different places in the world. We all feel like we have these brains that we sometimes we have to struggle with, or we'd like to buy a new one. But we can have these brains. And even if we're all kind of separated in different places, knowing that, yeah, we all have very similar brains. These experiences we have aren't weird. And we can all, yeah, collaborate together on going in directions that are kind of similar. We can point our boats in the same direction, even if the seas sometimes seem a little stormy. So I really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with you all on that. Oh, Lucy, what's the last thing I do in the day before sleeping? I assume you mean like before lying down. Now, watch out if you're looking for some kind of special ritual or something for the night. I'm famously not into those. Yeah, if when because sometimes I'll fall asleep anywhere, so there's no special thing I'll do before bed. Yeah, sometimes listen. Lately, sometimes I'll listen to a kind of a Dharma talk, so a discussion on Buddhist writings. I do that sometimes in the evening. Sometimes, yeah, I take a moment to just like, whether, it's while brushing my teeth or put some moisturizer on or something, just being aware of being human, having a human body. I think that's often what I like to do before I go to bed. Erica, yeah, he said, why does the brain want us to get into debates and conversations with it? I don't know. It's it's something the brain just does. I guess it's all like compulsions, like it's all like these like little moments of certainty. Like, oh, like here, we're gonna get certainty, we're gonna get control, and that's gonna make us feel good. Agurin, he said, but what if I don't know what to do? Yeah, you get to pick. You don't have to know what to do. Life like a wilderness. Like we walk up to the wilderness and we've never been in the wilderness before. Like I imagine most of the people, watching the live stream today, like this is your first life. So since it's your first time through, you're not going to know what to do. And you get to choose and then you explore. Yeah, you get to choose a direction and say, hey, maybe I'll go this direction. I don't know if it's right, but I'm going to trust myself and give myself kindness, and I'm going to be curious about the path ahead. And then, yeah, I'm going to trust myself to see, hey, I took this direction. It wasn't that good. Okay, that's great. I can see that. Now I'm going to choose a different direction. Elizabeth, you said how to deal with racing thoughts. So I find it more useful to look at how the racing thoughts start. Once we've got the brain spinning up, then yeah, do whatever you find useful to slow down or stop the rat wheel. Instead, I'd look at what kind of checking and controlling and ruminating often that we like gets us started. Because usually there's something that comes up and we're like, oh, this is an important thing. I need to think about it. I need to solve it. What if I do this? I could do this. Oh, that'll cause that problem. But what about this? And oh, no, that won't work because of this. And we all see it as good. We're like, oh, that's an amazing idea. Yeah, well, I can do this. And then, oh, let's go plan that. And we're doing all this stuff in our heads. And so we get the wheel spinning. And then after we get the wheel spinning, then the brain just goes with it and goes and goes and goes and goes. So I find it more useful to look at not starting the race. Isabel said, oh, so I can notice a reactive brain and do something it's not going to react to. How does that not fall into avoidance or become an easy excuse for compulsions? Yeah, and it's like you could see the same with training a dog, because you just said, oh, you could see somebody who will just isolate the dog. Also, oh, it's very reactive. I'm keeping it away from things that'll make it react. So yeah, it's just having that awareness, right? Like just like physical fitness, rest is totally a part of being a professional athlete. You can also just say, oh, like I'm resting from the gym. I guess I'm a professional athlete and not go to the gym. And so it's really about looking at it in the context of what you're building. And so, a professional athlete is a great example. If they're like a weightlifter or something, and they say, okay, like I know this is how I'm building up the weights, and I know here is where I'm taking the rest, and that's going to be done intentionally. And so understanding what are the skills you're moving towards, knowing what that point is where you say, oh, okay, this is not going to be useful to me right now. Let's take a break and then come back because I know I'm working on this skill or I'm on this plan to move forward. And so approaching it that way. So, right, so the focus is on the skill we're building, what we're moving towards, and having a plan for that, rather than, oh, I've just that fear of getting attacked. Oh, I've gotta. My number one goal is to avoid getting hurt, because then we will just retreat and retreat and retreat and retreat. Rocky Fighter said, is it impossible to understand how OCD works? Can you explain in simple terms? Sure. Uh, you have experiences that you want to avoid and control, and then you practice avoiding and controlling them. Kanya said, it's hard to believe we can do all the things we would like to do with a panic attack or with scary thoughts, but it's 100% true. I experience it every month. Slash, I experience it several times every month. Indeed. Yeah, we can do all of those experiences can be there and we can bring them with us. Nelnai. Yeah, he said, I actually feel much better. We talked about how we need boundaries. Great. Oh, Sally, Happy New Year to you too. Chiate, Happy New Year to you. Oh, it's an honor to be part of the help. nailed that. Yeah, he said, are there any tips to manage over internalizing, like absorbing each and everything we see or hear? Yeah, part of it's just starting to be aware of it. Again, very fundamental pattern with all this stuff. So it just helped me to start to understand, oh, I'm always going to take everything and attach it to me. The brain has this amazing attachment machine. It goes, that must be about me. And that must, oh, that's broken. I must be broken, right? It loves attaching meaning to things. So I find that at first, just being curious about it, because it's become so automatic and such a part of our lives, we often don't realize how much we do it because we also do it around things we like. And so if we do it around things we like, the brain's also going to do the over internalizing around things we don't like. We were talking about this on the mental fitness Discord server the other day around songs, and particularly sad songs. Because if we feel bad and then we're like, oh, I can't look at anything sad right now because then it's going to make it worse because we're going to get really attached to everything. And so just starting to explore it at first, I would say giving yourself the time to see, like, how do I over internalize? How do I connect things to myself everywhere? Things I like and things I don't like. And then you start to see the things you can practice saying, like, okay, I'm going to go have this experience. I know my brain loves to connect the things people say to being about me in this conversation. So I'm going to practice going into this conversation and just recognizing when the brain goes, hey, that I think they're talking about us, being able to say, yeah, I don't think so. And just like sitting with it. And so starting to recognize reality. And yeah, before somebody says, oh, isn't that reassurance? Understanding reality is not reassurance. Being able to see, oh, like, I know my brain is saying that's about me right now. It's not about me. Like that's just reality. But I understand my brain is making that connection. Yeah, you can also play with the fear. Yeah, you could be like, yep, totally. That person just what they're saying right now, or I just heard those people laugh over there. They are laughing about me. And so I'm not going to change what I do. I'm not going to check anything. I'm actually going to go and talk to them. So yeah, you can also play around with it that way. Mossman said, I just started a relationship and my OCD feels like it's trying to destroy it at every turn. How do I accept things like my partner's sexual past? It can really help to shift the focus to like, what do you want to grow in the relationship and what do you want to build together? Rather than being like, oh, there's this thing in the past I have to accept and like trying to do something to it. Right? Like I could stop the video right now and be like, well, there's a tree outside. Like I've got to go accept it before we can continue. And like, how am I going to do that? And then we'd be like, well, you might say like, well, Mark, you don't need to accept the tree. You can just continue with the video. And I'll be like, but no, it's like, it's a bad tree. I can see it. I can even see some, yeah, there's a leaf right there that has like 3 holes in it. Like we can't continue this video until I've accepted the leaf, the holy leaf. Or we could just do the video and we don't have to do anything to the tree, even though it's a bad tree with bad leaves. Andrea said, well, first of all, Happy New Year. Yeah. And he said, do you have any advice on developing practices that are beneficial and valuable, such as meditation? I'll oftentimes start useful practices, but then fall out of them. Yeah. So really common. I always say one thing with mental health that really helped me was understanding there weren't special mental health things I had to do. I just had to get good at making changes and sustaining them. And so much of it, that's all it is. It's just, hey, we're going to make a change and we're going to keep going with it. So seeing it doesn't have to be something useful. You can start to explore this skill with anything. Just saying, hey, here's a thing, a change I'm going to make, and I just want to learn how to sustain the change, just to start to learn about it as a practice. And then, yeah, with things like meditation, joining a group, following a structured program, but also exploring. So trying it again, saying, hey, I want to try meditation again, really looking at how can you make that easy. So it might be like starting much slower, just so you can, get, say 30 days of meditation taken care of. And be like, okay, if I could do that for 30 days, how do I increase the difficulty a little? And then carry it through for 30 days more. So yeah, while you're doing that though, looking at what takes you off the path. Because yeah, there's all sorts of different things that always throw us off the path, and we have to individually learn about those and see like how does the brain convince me not to do the thing I want to do, and then you learn about that, and then you get ready for it because you know it's gonna try that again. Marco, happy New Year to you. I said, how do you distinguish between obsessing over body sensations so much that they're psychosomatic versus symptoms caused by stress versus real health issues? So right away, the different categories you've created there, I'd see as something that will create challenges. It really helped me to have that focus on how, again, rather than, ooh, I've got to be on guard for the bad thing, what is my plan for proactively taking care of my health? And having ahead of time as kind of criteria for when you're going to go to a doctor uh, and have them figure it out. So you say, like, I'm not going to have to be checking this stuff and judging it and comparing and all of that. If it does the following, then I go to the doctor and I explain it. And offloading that, because otherwise we'll spend all of that time. And then saying like, look, oh, for all these other things, I'm not going to check those. I'm going to trust in this practice that I've built around proactively taking care of my health. Because again, it's that thing where we get so afraid of the bad thing that we're not actually putting an equivalent or more time and energy into the good thing. Bagel, bagel, bagel pointed out something really important. 2023 is a year for experiences. Rocky Fighter, he said, yeah, why is You Are Not a Rock not translated into Hindi? Love your community. Oh, thank you for being part of the community. Yeah, with book sales and translations. So right, there's a publisher and there's an agent, and it's about who ends up buying the rights to the translation. And so yeah, there's many different languages, and I mean it's still possible if a publisher wants to translate it into Hindi. I mean that's still very possible, but they like it's up to them to reach out. Uh, yeah, so unfortunately, not it hasn't happened yet. Chiate, you said, why reaching 100% on anything is that hard? Recently, I understood that we are living by believing, not by knowing. Almost. Well, yeah, like just reaching 100% is pretty impossible. And so, yeah, if you're striving for that, oh, it'll cause so much suffering. Chris said, I struggle with self pity. I'm having to teach myself how to feel again. And sometimes that leads to self pity over my compulsions. But I know self compassion is better. Yeah, it's great you see self compassion is better. It is. We can just give ourselves that kindness. E-car, you said, how can I best structure and plan my day to build better mental health and achieve my goals? It's been hard to get anything concrete in place where my emotions and thoughts are tumultuous. So yeah, it'll really depend on you, right? What your goals are, what's going to be useful for you planning your day. So there's not a kind of structure based on my day that I can give you, because my day is going to look really different from yours, because my days just make chilaquiles, do a live stream, go to the gym, and so I will do all of those things today. I know, because this is already only the second thing on my list of things to do. Uh, that could be one of the things that'll be really helpful, is reducing the things you need to do so that you can be successful with them. But a key component of it here is going to be wanting your feelings to be tumultuous and your thoughts. So right now, looking at like why, like right now, so I'll read it back to you what you said there. You said, it's been hard to get anything concrete in place when my emotions and thoughts are tumultuous. So I would look at that because that is like saying it's been hard to take my boat out into the ocean when the waves are tumultuous. The thing is that like that is the nature of waves. That is the nature of emotions and thoughts. Can it be okay for them to be that way and you can still do things you want to do? So what would help you with that? Knowing that the waves are going to be choppy when you set out. So is it about saying, okay, like I'm just today, there's just one thing I'm gonna do, and then I'm really gonna celebrate the hell out of that. But I want to do that with all the thoughts and feelings. And then maybe you do that for a week, just one thing each day. And then the next week, it's looking at, okay, this week, each day I'm gonna do two things with all of the tumultuous thoughts and feelings. And then just building up that recognition that you can navigate your boat through the waves. Oh, Kareem, thank you. I appreciate you being here and yeah, supporting the community. Isabel, yeah, OCD works like life, indeed. Nicole, I said something I want to focus more on is less ego-driven behavior. Oh, do I know of any Dharma talks to discuss this? I don't know. What do you mean by ego-driven behavior? Hope. You said, I hope I'm not too late. Well, hope your username is Hope, and so you would always be on time. I hope. I know. Thank you, everybody. I just got thank you for encouraging me to go and accept the leaf. I apologize that I know some people, we've continued the stream and I have not accepted the leaf. It's still there. Why does it keep recurring? Hope. He said, how does accepting fear and anxiety make it go away? I think I'm chronically living with it. It's not going away. I think I'm better than before though, but I still have social anxiety. Yeah, and then Bagel pointed out, accepting does not make it go away. You deserve to grow social connections and pursue adventures with any feeling. Yeah. Yeah, the point isn't to make it go away because it's great. It's a human experience we can have. There's nothing wrong with it. It can be there, and you can especially like build social connections. You can have. I see you asked about tinnitus below. Yep, tinnitus really common. Again, it can really help to see that we do all these compulsions around uncomfortable experiences. So it doesn't have to be a topic. It doesn't have to be in thoughts or feelings. It can be sounds. It can be physical sensations. The brain is just looking to control and get certainty. So yeah, very common that people run into the same around things like tinnitus. Albas, oh, you'd like to promote You're Not a Rock in Albanian or translate it? Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you have a publishing company you know of or something like that that wants to explore that, yeah, it's very possible. It'd be great to have it in more languages. Oh, hope. So it said here, I accepted it for months. I was doing that really hard work, but sometimes it's still there and I become anxious again for no reason. Yeah, so I hope you came after. So one of the things we've been talking about today is letting things be easy. So acceptance is not hard work. I don't know if you heard this before. There is a bad tree outside this window with bad leaves on it, like really bad. Like obviously, I know some people say like their thoughts are bad or some things are bad. And I just want to be clear that these leaves are like legitimately horrible. And I was gonna stop the live stream so I could go and do the hard work of accepting it. But the reality is that by doing this live stream and not spending time on it, that's what acceptance is, right? Like it can just be there. I've accepted it. But if we have to go and do hard work, then we're probably not like that's not what it'll feel like. Think of acceptance as an allowing. In many ways, it's not a thing we do, but a bunch of things we don't do. Yeah, or like so I have a video on my YouTube channel called The Weakness of Recovery. And in I use this example of trying to accept an apple. I try really hard to accept the apple. But yeah, it's not actually like that. Atomic. Yeah, exactly. You mentioned there that phrase, you can navigate your boat through the waves. It's that. Right? And starting to see, and I know it's difficult because we spend so much time being like, the waves are bad. I don't want waves. I don't like this feeling of being in the waves. But really flipping that flinch we have because we're like, the water's rough. This feels bad. And being and kind of turning into it and saying, no, like I want to learn how to be great at navigating my boat through rough waters. Like that's exciting. I want to learn how to do that. So starting to see that experience that we're judging as bad, what if we actually saw it as good, as an opportunity? Like we don't have to be disgusted by it. We don't have to be like trying to get it away. We can be like, oh, like this is great. Like I've been looking for an opportunity to practice these skills to learn how to navigate rougher water. And today I'll get to do that and really seeing that as an opportunity. Oh, Andrea, thank you. Erica pointed out here, she said, did I hear you say to reduce the number of things you have to do on New Year's Day? Are you nuts? Indeed, indeed. Imagine like all these things you're gonna plan. What if you don't? What if you don't have to do them? I have a story about this. Actually, so I mentioned the three things I have to do today. I did have one other thing to do today, and I actually blocked off a huge chunk. Like it was gonna be my activity. I thought all afternoon, and I did it this morning. Because I was thinking, okay, actually, I was thinking, well, I'm going to do this later today. I'm going to set it up. It was a business related thing. So I had to wait till January 1st to make sure I was opening like a subsidiary for my business. And so I was like, have to have the timing right so it doesn't get like stuck in the previous year. So it was like January 1st and I could go and open it. And I was just going to get the form ready and everything set up to do later, kind of like setting up my day. But then it turned out that what I thought was going to be like a multi-hour process took about 5 minutes, and it was just done. And I noticed rather than like celebrating, wow, like I just freed up an entire afternoon that was like blocked off in my calendar. My friend was like, well, what other work can we do? And just like, no, we're not going to do anything. Like we did the productive thing we wanted to do. We don't have to like work hard like to get that like feel like I don't have to like spend hours to feel stressed. Like to feel like I'm working hard. Like, yeah, if it took 5 minutes, that's okay. It's done. And we can just go do something else. And it doesn't have to be a thing. We can just like enjoy the day. There's a bakery I found. The sun. I'm not accepting the sun. The sun is like shining off of the tile, right in my face. Um, I found a great bakery close by to where I live, and so I wonder if they're open. The uncertainty moves us out because I wonder if they're open on New Year's Day. But if they are, it would be so delicious to go there. So I think I'll walk to the really great bakery. If they're open, I'll share later what I get. Kyle said during workouts, I always push myself so hard to prove it that the I can't do it thought is not true to train my brain. But is it perfectionism again? Can pushing that hard turn into a compulsion? It's it's useful. So this is where like it's really great you notice that. It's useful to explore because we want to see that we can move forward, but we can also be vulnerable. Maybe we will struggle. Maybe we say like, I don't think I can do this. I'm gonna do it, but maybe it's gonna be really difficult. Maybe I'll fail at it. Maybe yeah, like I won't be able to, and allowing that to be okay. Because yeah, we'll so often get this like I've got to be perfect. I've got to be strong. uh, but actually making space for vulnerability, being able to try something and say, yeah, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe, yeah, maybe I'll get run over. Maybe I'll get obliterated. And it'll be really painful. But I'm going to try it anyway. And if I can't do it, I'll care for myself. And so seeing that, like that supportiveness to ourselves, that we're going to move forward and it might be difficult and we might not be able to do it. And that's okay. Like that wouldn't mean anything about us. So yeah, it's a really fine line because it is so useful still to explore moving forward. But I find it's with that compassion and with that vulnerability. And what we find is often when we allow for vulnerability, we can actually do much more. But also, when we allow for vulnerability, we know when to rest, we know when to stop. And that actually, again, helps us keep going, right? Because we're not going to push until we burn out. We can push when we know it's a good time to push, and we can rest, which itself can sometimes feel like pushing because the brain will be like, you got to do stuff, you got to do stuff. And being able to say, no, I'm going to care for myself. I'm going to be kind to myself because I know I'm doing well. I know I'm doing the things I want to do. So I don't have to just keep pushing just because the brain says so. Yeah. So I would say there, just keep exploring it. Like what you're noticing there is really useful. It is the kind of the uncertainty in the gray area to step into. And so yeah, keep exploring it. And yeah, let us know what you discover in terms of like allowing for vulnerability and kindness while still moving forward. Verome, good morning from Australia. You said it's 4 a.m. and you can't sleep because of jet lag. Oh, I hope you, well, very good morning to you. Dom said, is there another way to integrate the inner child? Hmm. Well, what is the way that you're thinking of right now? So I don't, yeah, like if when you say is there another way? What's the way that you're thinking of right now? Oh, I see. Erica, I see your question about what do I do with unstructured time? And then the comment down below. Oh, a bakery. Of course. Yes. Yes. Sonics said 2022. Oh, look at this sun. Look at me. I'm going to avoid the sun. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to put the table between me and the sun. Oh, now I lost the chat. There we go. Sonics said 2022 was tough. I had a nervous breakdown, have urges to bad stuff, so suspect I have a psychosis. Could this be the case? Sonic's, I mean that's not, something we're gonna be able to explore here. But yeah, if 2022 was tough, I hope you're giving yourself compassion and kindness, and then yeah, looking at the supports that are gonna be useful to you in 2023. So saying, yeah, it's great to notice that something was difficult. And then something we were talking about at the beginning of the stream was always asking, how do I make this easy? So yeah, you notice it was difficult. So heading into 2023, what supports are going to make it easier for you? Chiate, yeah, he said, I had a hard time to understand this concept. I thought that acceptance is something we do. Then I realized that acceptance is doing nothing for the thought. It helped me a lot. Oh, Isabel, is the sun creating nice shadows? I can't see them. Isabel said, I can't see this one hand gesturing on camera, but I can see it as shadow. Oh, is that true? Oh yeah, you can. I can kind of see that. I'll make like shadow puppets. Yeah, there is a metaphor there somewhere. Sonics, yeah, Happy New Year. Hi, Happy New Year. God. He said, I suppose the way is doing the things I want, I value when I speak to that part of me. It's like, yeah, I'll do these certain things, but not other things. And I think those are the values. And so this is talking about the inner child. Yeah, so that is so if maybe I'll explain it this way. So yeah, there are kind of a meditation exercises, visualization exercises we can do around healing the inner child, where yeah, we bring up some difficult experiences from the past, and yeah, practice interacting with that self from back then, and giving them things they maybe were looking for and not getting, or showing them different ways to interact with that experience, or helping them, giving them kindness. And so there's that kind of focused practice exercise. But I find it really important to recognize that those younger versions of ourselves, those painful experiences are very much with us in the present when we're doing anything. And so when we're actually living our lives, that's the moment to break down that scar tissue. That's the moment to bring that freedom of movement back into our life, where there's that younger self going, don't do this, you're going to get hurt. And so noticing that while we're actually doing things in life, in that moment, being able to recognize, oh yeah, this is difficult. I feel this resistance right now because that younger me who had that experience, that painful experience, notices that this is somehow similar and doesn't want it to happen. And so it's in that moment giving that compassion to ourselves, kind of noticing that kid with us, and like we're babysitting them and saying, hey, I know you're afraid of this, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. So it's often like, for me, what it often felt like is there was a kid with me who had fallen out of roller coasters. So once before, the kid, I don't know, had gone to the amusement park and like fell out of the roller coaster. And now I've taken the kid to the amusement park again, because that's the kind of babysitter I am. And now I'm going to show the kid how to ride roller coasters. But I know that his reaction is going to be, I'm not doing that. Like I almost died the last time I rode a roller coaster. I'm not getting on there. And so I'm not going to yell at him. I'm not going to be like, you should do this. Why can't we do this? I'm going to understand, oh yeah, this kid almost got killed by a roller coaster before. Of course, he does not want to get on a roller coaster. I'm taking him on a roller coaster. It is going to be useful to show him how to ride a roller coaster. I can help him with that, but I've got to understand why that pain is there, why that resistance is there. So I'm working with that, but I'm showing him that things can be different in this moment. And the roller coaster might just be talking to somebody. The roller coaster might be sharing a video on the internet. The roller coaster might be leaving the house that day. And that kid is going to be with you. And so what do you want to teach that kid? And I find that as a really helpful way to explore that kind of what we call healing the inner child, but really recognizing it's here now. We do that now. You're welcome, Don. Yeah. Erica, yeah, exactly. I love the sun. Yeah. I was caught on camera, exactly, doing avoidance compulsions. I know there was uncomfortable experiences in my eyes, and I did not sit and accept it. Isabel, is it summer in Mexico or spring or autumn? It's winter. This is, because yeah, Mexico's in the northern hemisphere. This is, I have the blind set because the sun is so bright that it would wash me right out. Yeah, this is winter in Mexico. There are parts of Mexico that, like in the winter, there's so much variety to the geography of Mexico. So there can be very warm parts. There are parts where like really cozy towns up in the mountains where you see like every house has like a fireplace because like it will get quite cold, in the evenings and stuff. Yeah, in Mexico City, like I've spent Christmas in Mexico City before, not this year. But in previous years. And yeah, it's cool. Like Mexico City is really high. But yeah, it's great weather, I would say, because you can still go outside and maybe just with a light jacket, and there's all sorts of Christmas festivities. Yeah. So welcome to summer and winter. Winter. Yeah. Winter in Mexico. Tomic, thank you. I know the roller coaster analogy, it's really useful. I talk about roller coasters a lot. I feel like with clients, I feel like most sessions at some point we talk about a roller coaster. Chris, so what is the best way to build a new belief? Example, if I want to throw out the unhelpful belief, if something bad happens, I won't be able to cope, and build a new, more helpful belief. Yeah, so I don't know if you caught what we were talking about before with the gym and like learning how to have vulnerability. Because often it's that, like that idea that I won't be able to cope, I'll get obliterated, I won't be able to handle it, I'll have a breakdown, I'll have a relapse. So much of what we're doing is, trying to lock down and prevent that stuff. So part of it is just starting to allow it. So just starting to notice where we would, maybe push ourselves because we want to get the reassurance that we can handle it, or we avoid something because we're worried, oh, well, I might get in that situation. I maybe, what if I don't handle it, right? So maybe we avoid a trip, or we avoid a promotion, or we avoid doing some kind of presentation. We avoid speaking up at work, or in groups where we're like, oh, I have this great idea. I know how it should go, but I'm so afraid of something going wrong and not coping with it. So we hold back, even though like we are the person who could offer so much. So starting to notice those and take the step forward, like risk it, because that's how we change the belief. The belief will stay intact if you continue to avoid it, because the brain thinks that the avoidance did save the day, right? If we're like, ooh, if I do that, I might fail and not be able to cope, and so we don't do it, and then the brain goes, yeah, and look, we didn't fail, so I'm right, and we want to start to show it that no, like we could risk failing. We don't have to, pretend we're not vulnerable. We can step onto the battlefield and get cut. We can bleed. Oh, Isabel, I don't understand seasons at all now. It completely, it really, it does. I know it messes like the body. The body is somehow aware of seasons. I was first, I first realized this a couple of years ago. I was facilitating workshops in Indonesia, and I went in March, and it was, and it was kind of the middle of March, and the start of March had begun kind of warm. So I was in Canada, and I went to Indonesia, which was quite warm in March. It was really hot. And then when I came back, Canada was having like a kind of a cold snap where like winter, the end of March, and then winter kicks in again. And my body went through this weird, I was completely convinced it was autumn, right? Because I'd gone from warm, hot, and then it became cold. And I ended up just feeling so weird for weeks because it felt like autumn. It was like my body was like, it is autumn, the winter is coming. But actually, April was coming. And then it just threw me for a loop. But it was totally because the way the heat and things like that went, the way we travel around the world now, our bodies, we're not designed for it. Yeah, Chiati, you asked, yeah, how to understand when we should push and when we should rest. Yeah, and so this, I don't know if you caught it, the discussion earlier around the gym. And it and also when Isabel asked about like, well, if we're just avoiding something, aren't we always going to because the brain's being reactive, won't we just end up avoiding everything? And so it's just having that, we've got to figure out like, how am I going to nourish myself with rest consistently? How am I going to push into difficult experiences consistently? So the metaphor I always use for this is, think of a garden. It's you've got to have that plan for how you're going to water the garden. You don't want to leave it up to that gut instinct or just thinking. And so maybe this is the key thing for everybody to think about. These things in our life we want to grow, we need to nourish them consistently. We need to understand how to nourish them consistently. So like something we're growing in the garden. And that shows us when to push through. Because if we know, okay, these tomato plants, they need to get watered once per week. And then, it comes Monday, the day when you always water them, and you're like, I don't feel like going to water them. That's great. You don't feel like watering them. Neat. But they need to be watered once a week. And this is the day you water them. You're going to go water them. So you say, okay, I have this feeling. I don't like it. And I'm going to push through. I'm going to go and water them. But then later in the week, the brain's like, yeah, we got to do stuff. We got to do stuff. Let's go water tomatoes. You get to go, no, brain. We water the tomatoes once per week. We already watered the tomatoes. I notice you pushing me to do more. I don't have to. I can just chill here. Next Monday, we'll water the tomatoes again. So looking at your life, so an exercise I often give people is to draw yourself as a garden. So draw the plants in your life and work out, like, how do you water them? How do you fertilize them? And so fertilizer are changes we need to make in our environment. And how do you get them sunshine? And sunshine is just things you, like the sunshine over there. Sunshine is something you expose them to, but you don't actually make the change. Yeah. So really think about yourself as a garden, come up with the plan, and then you see when to push, and then you see when to rest. Street Fighter, hello. I hope you're not fighting today. Isabel, exactly. He said, lucky we have brains to help us out when our bodies tell us weird stuff. Remember, the brain is part of the body. It is going to do weird stuff. Chris, exactly. You said, it sounds like taking action and doing the thing we avoid is the best way to build the new belief. Totally. Okay, yeah. So what would the plants be in that exercise? Some examples, not feelings. Yeah, it's so for example, you might like you'll have a career plant potentially, or like a school plant, or whatever you're growing there. A hobby plant. There could be a social plant is really common, like a social activity. And so you might see, oh, like I know I really want to grow this social plant in my life. How do I nourish it? Okay, so I'm going to make sure I water my social plant with a group social activity once per week that I organize. And so like that becomes like, I'm going to do this once per week. So yeah, social plant, there's often, people will have like the sleep plant. It could be food and exercise. Yeah, there could be family, like you might have the social plant and the relationship plant. So yeah, those kinds of things you want to grow in your life. Because if we're not actively cultivating them and taking care of them, yeah, it makes sense that they're going to be withering up. So yeah, there'll probably be a physical fitness plant, a mental fitness plant, and then there are going to be these activities that nourish them. And so if we're not doing those activities, then of course the plant won't be doing well. If there's something in particular you've noticed, hey, for example, somebody who's making salad all the time and they have no focus, maybe that means they want to grow some focus in their garden. And so then they'll have, because that's something they really want to grow, they'll make it a specific plant just so they can call it out and say, here are the activities I'm going to consistently do to grow focus in my life. Isabel points out, Isabel will be growing thistles, weeds, and cacti. A cacti garden is beautiful. And speaking of which, maybe it's time for a walk to the bakery. So we'll wrap things up there. Unless anybody has any last minute questions, get them out there. But otherwise, everybody, it's an honor and a pleasure to start out the year with you all. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you, everybody. I think it was George Panzer and Nicole and Maxwell. Thank you so much for the donations today and the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by today. Again, I wish you an easy year. Recognizing ease is not some kind of avoidance or cop-out. It's really such a beneficial mental health skill, right? The brain is going to be giving you lots of extra overtime work to work hard, super, super hard, and chase hard feelings. But yeah, you can notice the stuff the brain throws up. Be like, yeah, I don't have to do that. You can just ease into giving your time and energy to the things you care about. Cool, indeed. Time to go and find trees. Erica, try easier. Felix, thank you. Happy New Year. Indeed, everybody. Let's see. We'll all get to see now how this is going to turn out on YouTube. I assume it's gonna just put the vertical video and have like big black bars on either side, but we will find out, or it's gonna flip it on its side. We will see what it does. We will sit in the uncertainty of that. But with that, thank you everybody so much. It's wonderful to start out the year with you. I look forward to the adventures we explore as a community and each of us individually in the year ahead. Okay. Have a great Happy New Year, everybody.